Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of an Auto Trail Vline 610 Sport, which is a 2015 model. So as we start, we'll walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first. First main point you come to is your LPG. And this vehicle is fitted with a 25 litre underslung LPG tank. So to fill, you go to your local filling station that sells LPG, get the LPG filler, turn the nozzle on the front of the gun, pull the trigger back and press the button on the display panel on the filler itself. Once it stops filling, that is it full. These normally take about 15 to 16 pounds to fill, and then that is full. You've got your cassette loo, so all your outdoor lockers, so your cassette opens with a little key. To get your cassette out, you need to ensure that the blade is closed. Then you'll be able to slide it out of the vehicle. Got some handles there so you can drag it around the site when it's full and empty. All you do is remove the cap from the spout, press the button, tip out. Once you've tipped it out, put some water in, give it a rinse, tip out again. And if you're using the liquid form of chemical, the cap falls straight into here and it's good to go. If you're using the chemical in the tablet form, which is the new form, you put a pint of water into here, drop a tablet down into the cassette, but ensure that there's a pint of water in there as well to help the chemical break up. And then just push it in and it's locked back in the vehicle. You've got your mains connectivity point here, so this is where you'd hook the vehicle up with the mains electric hooker blade. So always hook the vehicle up first by lifting the flap, sliding over, hook the vehicle up first, then walk to your main power source. Obviously do it in reverse when unhooking, and when unhooking there's a small blue lever you push down and pull the hooker blade out. Underneath you'll notice you've got a blue tap and a grey tap, freshwater and wastewater dumps, so you can open them up and then you've got your water draining off. So if you've taken on any contaminated water on the blue, you'd obviously let that out. If you finish with the vehicle, you'd let the water out, of course, and if you're winterising, you'd want to drain it off, so you'd leave them open. Normally on the way out of a site you've got a motorhome service bay, you'd pull in and let out your waste and fresh water. But ensure they're open in the winter, because if the water was to freeze in the tanks, they are just plastic, they would crack and it would cost a lot to replace the tanks. In here is your freshwater intake, so I would get a hose pipe with some hose connections, because just a brass tap on most sites. Put your hose into here, wait until it overflowed or until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on your main control panel above your sliding cargo door. This is lockable as well by the small blue key, the same key that opens the cassette, so you can lock that. You've got your Truma vent, so this is just a vent, the boiler lives behind there. This is just allowing all the fumes out from when it's on gas and electric. And then coming around to the back, you've got your tailgate, so you've got to push the button in. In here you can see that you've got your carpets, a hooker blade and some chocks. You've got your external shower point on this side, so a bullfinch. As long as you've had the hot water boiler on, you'll have hot or cold water there. Ensure the pump is on. And then you've got some storage right down the centre there. And in here you've got your own unwinding handle and some more levelling ramps and the pole for your table if you wanted it outside. Moving on to so that is all that's for, is if you wanted to open it from inside, you've got a small hatch here. You pull that cable and that'll pop the boot if it ever was to get stuck or fail from the outside. External gas point here, so this runs off the main LPG tank on board, saves you carrying a spare bottle. So again, bullfinch connection, turn on and off. You will have to get some gas pipe, which is orange, rubber orange gas pipe, and some Jubilee clips to connect it to the bullfinch connection and to your gas appliance, so Caddock or external gas heater. your sliding door. So you'll notice if you slide it, you've got a little drawer here, and if you slide it shut, it'll hit here. So just pull the handle up and slide it shut, and that is the door closed. Come to the diesel filler. So this is where you fill with diesel. Again, open to the main ignition key that starts the vehicle to open the lockable diesel cap. And then you do have your tyre pressure, so 5.5 bar all round, which is 79.5 psi throughout the vehicle. Underneath the carpet here, there is a panel in this floor, and this is where your engine battery lives, and underneath the seat is where your jack and the brace and torn eye lives. This is a tool kit, which this would lift off and this will slide out. Bonnet release is on the side of the dashboard. We'll have a quick look underneath the bonnet. You've got all your fluids to the left hand side, so screen wash, this lifts off and gives you access to the power steering and coolant. You've got your brake fluid, oil and your oil dipstick. Paint code, so 611 for Grigio aluminium. Earth for giving or receiving a jump start, and then if you just put your key in here, lift this little cover up, there's a positive underneath there for giving or receiving a jump start. 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight. If you were to put a tow bar on this and tow with it, you can tow up to a train weight, which is the vehicle and the trailer can't exceed 6 ton. So once inside the vehicle, above the sliding cargo door, you have your main 12 volt control panel. So this operates all the electrics within the vehicle. So you've got an on off button here, which illuminates with the blue light when it's on. This will either turn on 12 volt if you're not hooked up solely off the leisure battery, or if you are hooked up, you will have 240 volt off mains hookup. Next to it you have your pump. So if you need to use any water in the vehicle, turn on the pump and this will prime the water to the tap. Here you have all your interior lights, which are all then individually switched. And then coming down the bottom buttons, you've got your awning light, which is the light on the outside of the vehicle. This dims your lights, as you can see, like so. You've got your power transfer button, so if this is not turned on, the motorhome will be using the leisure battery, which it's designed to do. So if you turn this on, it will mean that the motorhome uses the engine battery. I wouldn't advise using it. It's more for just in emergencies if you do need that little bit of power. Otherwise you could flatten the engine battery and you'll be going nowhere. And then this little switch here is tank heaters. So if it's going to be cold overnight and potentially freeze, you can pop these on, and what it does is there's a probe in the tanks. It puts current through the probe, which goes through the water and stops the water from freezing. Going back and forth on the control panel, you're at your main screen, then you've got your vehicle battery level, leisure battery level, fresh water. So fresh water I've got 25% in, so it's showing red there, so it's just indicating that you will need to top it up. And you've got 25% of wastewater. You've got your vehicle battery volts, your solar panel and your battery amps. You can set timers, and then you've got your main time display there. So now in the kitchen area, so if you lift these covers up first, you've got a little clip here to hold it back, and then if you turn the turnbuckle, you can put it on here as well to stop this from falling. And then you do have your two gas rings, which are lit like so. And then this is just showing that your water is getting warm and the water pump is working as the water is pressurised. And then underneath you've got your grill, and on the other side you've got your oven. So you may want to take these out when travelling and wrap them up, but always make sure that the U-shape of the back, so the flat sides at the front, the U-shape at the back of the oven shelf goes to the back of the oven, as it's designed to stop it from getting the burner blocked. Underneath you've got a large storage drawer, and to the side you've got a large cupboard, and these are your gas isolation taps. Any problems with gas you can turn them off here, but these are mainly for when the technician does a habitation service. To operate your heating and hot water system, it's all done through this Truma digital control panel. So you press and hold to turn it on, and then you'd press to enter into the menu. So in the top left hand corner you have a picture of a motorhome with a thermometer in. This is how hot you want the inside of the vehicle to be. So 30 degrees is the highest, and you can go all the way down to off if you didn't want the heating on but you wanted the water on. So for this we'll just say the max at 30, and then you just press enter, and that's preset the thermostat to 30 degrees. Moving further along, you've got your water with your thermometer on, so this is how hot you want your water. If you didn't have any water in your fresh water tank or your boiler, you'd have it on off. Otherwise you can have it on 40 degrees for showering and 60 degrees for doing your dishes. Or if you wanted to boost it, you can boost the water, which will turn off the heating and prioritize the water. So for this we'll just say 60 and press enter, preset it to 60 degrees. Moving further along, it's the energy source you're using. So whether you're on gas, which is when you're wild camping, you've got no hookup facility, so you'd be running everything off gas. Mixture of 1 kilowatt and gas. A mixture of 2 kilowatts and gas, which you use in the winter, as this will heat the vehicle or the water up quicker, as it's doubling the source, reducing the heating time. Electric on 1 kilowatt, which you'd use if you were on a smaller CL site or abroad, but in most sites around the UK you can use electric on 2 kilowatts, just depending on if they give you the right current, which they should on the amps. If you were to trip the vehicle out, say you were boiling a electric kettle and you had this on 2 kilowatts and you keep tripping the vehicle out, it might be a good idea just to turn it down to electric on 1 when you're boiling the kettle, and then once you've boiled it you can put back on, as if you take too much current from the hookup lead you can't trip the vehicle or the site. Moving further along, you've got the fans, so you can have it on eco, which will just preserve the 12 volt fan, or you can have it on high, which the fans will become a little bit louder and use a little bit more 12 volt as the fans are running. So when you're wild camping you may want it on eco, when you're on site you may want it on high, and when you're sleeping you may want to turn it down to eco again. So for this we'll just say high, or you can of course boost it, which will just boost the fans as well. So for this we'll just say high. Then in the bottom left hand corner you've got a timer, so you can time it to come on and off, and you'll hear the fans kicking in a bit louder in the background. You've got the time that's displayed on the main control panel. And then in the far right hand corner you've got a picture of a spanner. Should you get a warning triangle in here, you can go to reset, press on reset, then say preset, press again, and it will reset the control panel, and you'll have to go in and set the individual heating, water, source and fan again. Across from your kitchen you have your fridge. So you've got your fridge and your freezer compartment. At the back there is a dial, which is how you turn the fridge on and off and dictate the temperature of the fridge. So all through here, so you turn it to 0, which is stop, and it'll turn off, and you've got 1 to 6 on the temperature. And this is just a 12 volt compression fridge, so it'll work no matter if you're hooked up or you're not, as long as you have sufficient charge in your leisure battery. Underneath the fridge is where you have your power supply unit, so your Sargent electrical unit. So all your fuses are listed here on what does what, and the fuses live here, so it would be a good idea to carry some spares just in case one does blow. You can put a new fuse in. This is just imitated off your control panel, apart from the black button here, which is the system shutdown button, which you can turn on and off to isolate the battery in the winter when the vehicle is in storage or standing on the drive and not in use. You've got your charger, your space heater and your water heater on the 240 side, so as long as these buttons are on you'll be able to use the 240 side of your heater and your water heater. And then underneath you've got your trips, so your RCD and your MCBs. Obviously your water and your space heater does work off gas as well, so this is just the electric side. Your build number, which is unique to this vehicle. All different motorhomes from Auto Trail get a different build number, so if you quote that number, if you ever need parts, we'll be able to get the right parts for the vehicle. In the wardrobe above the fridge is where you'll find your leg for your table, which just goes in here. Got some storage for your wardrobe, and then above you've got your TV aerial, so if you were struggling for a signal, obviously the max view box at the back is showing a green light. If that was showing amber or red, it means that amber means you've got a signal but it's very weak, red means you haven't got a signal. What you can do is loosen this nut, push the pole up through the vehicle, and then use the little toggle on the bottom to direct the aerial on the roof. A tip with this is just to look where your other motorhomes and caravans are pointing in your location, and point yours in the similar direction, and you should get a signal without having to mess on too much. But when travelling, always make sure that the stem of the aerial is pulled right into the vehicle and it's securely fastened. There is a min and a max booster on there, so it's a little dial just on here where you can turn it up or down should you be getting a weak signal or too strong of a signal, and it could be interfering with the signal. So now in the washroom, you've got your shower screen, which just pressed it on here and just behind the tap to stop your toilet from getting wet when the shower's in use. And you have got a hanging rail for wet towels, but this also works for wet coats. Things will drip dry in here. It is heated, so in here, with it being the smallest place in the van, it gets lovely and warm when the heating's on. Your drop down sink where you'd use your shower as the tap, but obviously you do make sure if you've had this full, you just slowly tip it back as the water runs down here, and you don't want it to run down the back of the sink, and then that just clips on. To operate your toilet, obviously make sure the pump's on. You'll be able to press the blue button at the back. The fan will kick in. If the fan starts flashing, just press it until it goes to solid light, then that stops that. So press and hold, and you will be able to flush the toilet. So there you go, flushing. Always flush the toilet first, which lubricates the blade. Then what you want to do is you want to open it, which is slightly to the right. Use the toilet with it in the open position. Once you finish using the toilet, if you flush after use, and then if you slide to the left, it shuts the blade, which isolates the cassette, and then you can get it in and out the vehicle. If that was to be left open, the cassette will just not pull out the side of the vehicle. And then when you are winterizing, if you just unscrew the shower head from the shower hose, as you can see it's got quite a loop in there. Any water could sit in here and potentially freeze and break this pipe. What you'll want to do is just unscrew that and lie the hose down. Leave all the mixer taps throughout the vehicle open. Open the fresh and waste from outside and the boiler, which I'll show you in a second. And just any water will just dribble down through the plug hole there and out on the other side of the van. To operate your Avtex TV, first of all you've got a master switch on here, so make sure it's in the on position. Then if you get your remote and just point it to the bottom right hand corner, once that light goes blue like it has now, it means it's on. And then all you need to do is each time you move sight, big button here, orange button, AQT, if you just press and hold. So just press and hold. You'll get this. What country you're in, it's automatically set to the UK. If you just press OK, it'll do an auto tune and find as many channels as it can. Failing that, you've got source, which is this button here, and you can put a DVD in the side, as well as a USB up here. So you've got a USB connection as well. So once removing the cushions from your bench seat, which is on the driver's side, under here you've got your boiler, and here you have your fuses which cross over from the cab so the vehicle to the motorhome. So you've got your likes of your Tone electrics, your fridge, power and so on. So there's a few more fuses which are 20 amp and 5 amp. So just carry a spare few of those as well. And then underneath this wooden panel here, if you lift that off, you have 2 leisure batteries in here. So should they be charged and you're going off grid, 1 full charged leisure battery should last you 3 days if you use it correctly. So you have 2 here, so if they're both charged you'll get 6 days while camping. But you'll probably not want to do 6 days, you'll probably want to do 3 as a maximum, as a lot of people do this, and then they will then go out, book themselves onto a site, have a proper shower, empty the toilet, charge the batteries of the vehicle on electric hookup. And also you do have your 2 main 20 amp inline battery fuses. To make the bed, what you need to do is you need to slide into the middle, so just on this side, so slide out right the way out there, and then you would put the backrests into the middle, slide this one forward ever so slightly, like so, and there you do have your bed. And obviously putting one of these in the middle, you can have the headboard on either side, but this kind of acts as the headboard as the TV's on that side. But I'd also advise turning these upside down as well, and you get a flatter surface to sleep on. To open the skylight at the back, you press this button in, pull the handle down, and you can put the handles into the groove should it be a nice day, or pull it all the way back. But obviously make sure that the bar goes above the button, which means it's securely shut before travel. You've got a fly screen, and on the other side you've got a blackout blind. It's the same with the windows, you just push the levers in, loosen the window off, push the window out, and then to keep the window out you'd loosen the black lever on both sides to keep the window out in place. But make sure all your windows are shut as well before travel, as they are just plastic, and if we have strong winds, which we used to, it can damage the windows, and then they're very expensive to repair or replace. Fly screen and blackout blind, and then if you just loosen this clip off you can depart the two. And located in the bottom of your kitchen cupboard is the drain for your boiler, which is this here. So yellow toggle, when it's lying down, it's holding water. Stand it up, it will drain the water off completely underneath the vehicle. You do with no 12 volt on, so the pump will not kick in. Stand it up during the time you've got the vehicle in storage, and then when you are ready to reuse it, lie it down, shut all the taps within the vehicle, shut the hot and cold, shut the fresh and waste outside the vehicle. Go to the cold side of the tap first. When you put the pump on, you'll get automatic cold water. Go to the hot side, it will cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until you get a steady flow on one tap. Do them all, then the system is primed. But it's very important that you let the water out the boiler, because the boiler that's located just underneath the seat where your TV is holds 10 litres of water at any one time. In the winter it's very important that that doesn't freeze, because if it does freeze it's a new boiler job, and they are about £2,000, and it isn't covered under any warranty, as frost damage can be controlled by you by letting the water out. So please do let the water out by just standing that up on end during the time you have the vehicle in storage. Open the fresh and waste outside, open all the taps in the vehicle, and of course unscrew that shower head and allow the hose to lie in the shower tray. So now in the cab, to the right of the driver you have your handbrake, and then on the door you've got your electric windows and electric mirror adjustments. You've got 2 on each side, so it's top and blind spot. And then to black the cab out on an evening, on these side doors you just pinch, slide down, and that blacks the cab door, passenger and driver out. Down here you've got your LPG, so your gas indicator to show how much gas is in the tank when the engine is running. That'll come on. And then you've got your headlight adjustment and rear fogs. This has been fitted with the Vodafone 4615 category 1 alarm, so it works when you just lock the van. It sets the alarm through the central locking system. But if you wanted to arm it with yourselves in, or you wanted to leave the dog in as you were nipping down to the shop or something, you'd have to turn these ultrasonic sensors off, which are on both of the windscreen posts, because if it detects movement, it will set the alarm off. So to do so, you'd put your key in the ignition, turn the ignition on, wait for the ignition lights to come on, turn the ignition off, and then within 6 seconds you'd press and hold this button. It will flash until it stops flashing, and then once it stops flashing, you know it's off. But then as soon as you start that engine, it goes back to default and you have to do that again. If you think that's too much of a hassle, or you're going to forget that, what a lot of people do is they black these sensors out with a bit of tape. Electrician's tape is probably the best. On here you've got all your steering wheel controls, wipers and trip computer, which goes through the carb control, so it goes through all the fuel consumption, miles per gallon, travelling times and so on, all through here, through that screen. Lights and indicators, cruise control on the top. So what you do is get the desired speed, put the cruise control on, which is the top one, and press up, and the cruise control starts. As soon as you go for the brake on the end, you've got cancel resume, so you can resume it should you need to. And then at the bottom you've got speed limiter, so you can go push up slowly, goes up in ones, push up and hold, goes up in fives, and then it's got the kick down function, so if you needed to get yourself out of a situation, put the accelerator at the floor and it should override the speed limiter. 6-speed manual gearbox with lift up and into reverse. On the head unit itself, you've got FM and AM radio. Media can be a CD, or of course can be an input, so aux or USB, which is just down by the cup holders. Navigation is just TomTom, so it's just a TomTom van sat nav out of a Ducato. So what you do is you'd put your city postcode in. I just put and then what you do is navigate to, so you get this navigate to. Don't set the home setting as your house, because if the vehicle is stolen, they know where you live, so set it somewhere near where you can navigate to home. And of course you can put address in there and navigate to where you want to go. You've got phone on the bottom as well, so you press phone, connect the phone, add a device. You're looking for Uconnect on your device, make sure the pins match. Once the pins match, press pair on your device, pair up in the head unit. And then what you want to do is, it'll ask you if you want to allow your contacts to be sank. Press sync contacts, and then whoever rings you will come up on the head unit. And then more, you can press trips and you can view your trips on here, as well as through the little screen via the end of the wiper stalk. Your heating, so in the cab, so you hot or cold, must be on at least fan speed 1 or more for the aircon to work, which will come on should the ignition be on. But your distribution, so where you want the air to go to, and whether you're circulating air within the vehicle, fresh air in, or circulating air within the vehicle. This one locks the doors on an evening, so it locks all the doors with there being a van conversion. You've got heated mirrors, hazards, hill descent control, which is pretty much useless for a manual, it's more for an auto, and then you've got traction control. 212 volts, a heated and cooled glove box through the air conditioning, so if you've got little bits to keep on in here when you're on the road, put them in there instead of getting up and down the fridge. Glove box, and then to black the cab main windscreen out, again pinch, slide along, pinch, slide along, and there you go. That is the windscreen blanked out.